Dean Bisceglia, Jonathan Rodriguez, TJ McAloon, best of the best, TexasHighSchoolFootball.com. I'm your host, Kyle Spishock, and we are at the Gridiron. Dang, the production of this is ridiculous. Brian is just pouring so much money into our shows. It's wonderful. All right, first question. Last Friday's game of the week was a bust, unfortunately. It's a blowout by Cedar Park against Pflugerville-Conley, 49-0. Jonathan, what are your takeaways from this match?
Cedar Park is pretty much going to go to the playoffs undefeated and possibly put their names up there as far as having one of the biggest win streaks in the state of Texas.
We need to pay attention to this team. Ever since their new coach took over at the beginning of the 2015 season, they haven't lost one game. This is USC level-esque dominance in that if they build up and get inside their head too much and they see the winning streak and they see what fans are coming out, they prize, when the playoffs come next month. But this is a team that they won't be tested probably until Thanksgiving.
I think they're so well balanced on both sides of the ball. Offense, defense. The defense is hardly giving up any points all year. I think that's the key to a successful team is not getting in their heads. Is where if their offense struggles one game, their defense will most likely be there because, a defense doesn't usually just all of a sudden disappear. Offense is based on timing, blocking and all that. Defense usually go tackle the ball carrier.
Is this just a case of the playoffs already being set with some of these teams or what? I mean, are these other teams getting exhausted or is this just mismatches? What's the case here?
This is around the time to where, I guess you could say pretenders and contenders start, dividing themselves. Because most districts, they only have, maybe 2 or 3 good teams at most. And so you could easily go the whole season without facing anyone really tough up until this time.
I look at where Dean's at and Katy was soon to go in district play. And now I think it's come to the point of where they outscored their opponents by 3-1 in the last 6 or 7 games, whatever it is. So they're head and shoulders above whom else they play in district. And it makes for games that are just extremely boring to watch. I mean, Katy's blowing teams out. Alan's blowing teams out. Or you look at a team like the Woodlands, where they're playing their district, and their second place team in that district is a good team as well, but I think they beat them 70 to 6 or 7.
This is a time of the year where teams are hitting their stride, and to go along with Dean from the pretenders or the contenders, you're figuring out which teams are the Beyoncés of the world and which teams are the Ashley Simpsons of the world, which one are faking.
I haven't heard an Ashley Simpson reference in a decade.
Beyonce's Solange or heck, a Michael Jackson to a Tito.
Yeah, exactly.
Where did Ashley Simpson come from? What provoked you to use that as an example? I have to know.
Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I watched an SNL skit last night on GoPro and I just thought of that and it just came up in my mind. Sometimes I just get nuggets out of nowhere.
Game of the week this week is San Angelo Central versus Midland. Ashley Simpson. Unbelievable. All right. What are your expectations, TJ?
I hate to bring up a fourth straight week where we have a game of the week and we hype it up and we get a great sponsor on board to piggyback off this, like when Under Armour came on board for the Cedar Hill game. But just looking at the records, they're both, we got an undefeated team in San Angelo and a one loss team in Midland, but San Angelo, man, a 421 split to a 130 point against. It's hard to believe that Midland's even going to make this game close with such an overwhelming opponent. So I expect another game that's over by halftime and one that when we're doing the game story, they'll be able to file it by 8 o'clock at night.
I just say this is going to be another bad game of the week. I think San Angelo Central is too good. I mean, they scored almost 100 more points than Midland, and they've given up almost, over 100 points less than Midland. So, I mean, they're better offensively and better defensively than Midland.
I'm going to say Midland beats San Angelo because the numbers are very similar between the quarterback and running backs of both teams. With the tough game that Midland had against the Central back in week 3, games like that proved crucial in the district matchups, and games like this when you have the 1 and 2 going up against each other. And I think a game as close as that against a team of that high caliber is going to end up being the beneficiary for Midland, and Midland's going to come away with the win this week.
Midland's played a lot of close games. They played multiple games, like one or a couple scores, 1 score or 2 scores. I know they have a couple 10-point wins. And I mean, that's just too close. If you're a really good team, you should be having like a 3 or 4 score advantage when the game's over.
Midland knows how to win in close games, regardless of what the spread may say or what the opposing record is. So to me, I think just all that in-game experience that Midland has had this year, and that one loss is not a loss to shake your head at.
There are 3 weeks until the playoffs. What do you all expect to see in the coming weeks?
You're gonna see a lot more the good team just killing the worst team, finishing out district and trying to hit their stride going into the playoffs. And you might even see a few upsets. I mean, like Jonathan said, Midland in the San Angelo Central game, like that's for district, bragging rights and title right there.
You can expect the crazy first round knockout, like look at last year when South Grand Prairie in overtime beat Euless Trinity, and Euless Trinity is not going to be in it this year. So you can expect some great football, as Steve said, and the upset's always a fun part because it knocks everything pretty much off balance, and then it's open season for almost anyone at that point.
What to expect and look forward to for me is Westlake and how they're going to ramp up into the playoffs with their third-string sophomore quarterback. Does this team rally around the sophomore and just play a shutdown game on defense and rush the ball 45 times? It'll be interesting to see what they do in the next 3 weeks.
Finishing up the show, as I tweeted, our writers share their most scalding tweets or headlines about the football world. Jonathan, what do you got for me? Burn me. Let's go.
So, real quick, in my humble opinion, I think the AFC South is the worst division in the NFL. So that all aside, the NFL is going to go ahead and try something different to determine the AFC South this year. So my tweet is AFC South division winner will be determined a pigskin a quarter mile over the mountain at Uncle Rico's Passing Academy.
Piggyback off of that one, the NFL is boring. It's boring football, boring teams, a boring product now. And much like, and this will be coming out later on, I think tomorrow on texashfootball.com, tweet out, the NFL is much like the WWE in that it's an oversaturated product, and that's why television ratings are down.
Cougars will lose 4 games this year. So they already lost 2. I know it's probably not a sizzling take anymore. It's more like a simmering take. So they're going to lose to Louisville in 2 weeks, and then they'll lose that's to be at home, and then they'll lose at Memphis to close the season out.
What's today? Today's a basketball opener, and there was no basketball tweets. Come on, guys.
It's a football show.
I know, but still.
Here, I got it for you.
If
You know, it's opened up. Cleveland somehow has emerged as the sports capital of the world.
Oh, God. I hate that. I hate that tweet.